Yes. So, as I told you, we are doing another episode of the JN Circle Catch Up. And it's a series of conversations on how together we can overcome the effects of the COVID 19. I'm Dahlia Harris. This evening's conversation is a continuation of last week's chat about financial security, surviving the unknown. You heard me right. Financial security, surviving the unknown. And this week, we're going to be talking to someone who's just like you and I, feeling the economic effects of COVID 19, but they're getting some advice from our Gen experts about how to cope. Before we get into all of that, let's take a quick look at what's happened since the last time we had a conversation and what's happening on the COVID 19. So much has happened. We've had well over 150 additional confirmed cases, taking it beyond 250. And unfortunately, there are 6 deaths among that number. St. Catherine remains under lockdown. That's my parish. I'm feeling it following a 7-day extension. Entities in the business process outsourcing sector have been closed for 14 days, and schools remain physically closed until May 31. But of course, learning continues online. And however, the teachers have been creative about it and the parents. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. So listen, serious times, people. But we can get through it by first abiding by the rules as they've been laid down to us and just looking out for each other. It means we will have to make adjustments in the way we do things. This is a new normal, but we can survive with careful planning and sticking closely to the plans that we've made. So, this is what we're going to do this evening. We're going to help you to formulate some of those plans. And joining me will be Rose Miller. She leads the JN Foundation's Be Wise Financial Empowerment Program. We want you to be a part of the conversation. So please feel free. We want to hear from you. Send us your questions, your comments, and we will certainly try to find the answers that you need. I'm going to invite you as well while you're here to make note of the JN Group website, and we put this in specifically to provide you with information on how the JN Group is supporting you to respond to COVID 19. And the website is www.jngroup.com/COVID-19 help. So that's jngroup.com/COVID-19 help, and you'll find all the information that you need on how the Jane Group is helping you. In the meantime, we're going to catch up with our financial empowerment guru, Rose Miller, and she's lead of the Jane Foundation's Be Wise Financial Empowerment Program. There are many people, teachers and several others, who are right now trying to get used to the new normal. Parents have become teachers, teachers have become tech experts. A lot of people are in the same situation. What is your advice to them about coping with what's going on?
All right, it seems as if we have been thrown into an open ocean, and many of us are not able to swim as it relates to teaching from home, some working from home, and all of that. We really have to just take it in strides, really, and do the best we can. Reach out to those who might be able to assist us with anything, because I mean, some parents, they might not even be aware or able to cope with the subjects, but they now find themselves having to help more closely because the children are at home. So I would recommend that they reach out to others who may be able to help. And it's a time we will notice for community, Delia, in as much as we are indoors a lot, but it's going to be a time for community, because it is the community that is actually going to help us in many ways to get through this crisis.
Absolutely. One of the things is the economic pinch. Children are at home, so they're eating more. We're eating more. The utility bills are more. It seems all the budgets have flown through the window, Rose. And some people, because of what's happening in the workplace, income is different. So they're feeling the economic pinch. What should they be thinking right now?
It's really hard. And as a financial educator, when a crisis like this hit, it really hit me really hard because I do recognize from interacting with a lot of persons that many people are ill prepared for a crisis such as this financially. And so, one of the things we have to reach out and do right now is understand that we have to take an assessment of our resources. We have to think about how much money we have in hopefully an emergency fund. We also have to think about what are the other resources, who can we turn to, what are the resources in terms of the state, in our families. If we are belonging to a church family, that's also another resource. We have to take an assessment of the various areas that we might be able to reach out and get some form of assistance.
Wow, wow. The bills are upon us. So right now we are looking at the credit card bills, we're looking at the utility bills, we're looking at the food bill, the mortgage loans, the car and personal loans. How do we address these real concerns?
They are real, real, really,
Yes.
and a lot of persons, because a lot of persons in our own country here, we do live from one paycheck to the next. And so, one of the things that's not really happening is people are not setting aside anything sometimes to fall back on if we have a crisis such as this one. So, the bills are here, they're not going anywhere, and they have to be addressed. So, one of the things that we can do to assist us for this period, we definitely should take advantage of like payment holidays. And many financial institutions are offering payment holidays. And so, that one is a no brainer. We should also, wherever possible, we can seek to make maybe partial payments on some bills. We should also reach out to our creditors. It's not a time to be hiding from our creditors because we all know what's going on. So reach out in good faith and have a conversation with them. We can also seek in whatever way possible to actually trim down on some of the expenses that we're having so that the bills actually become less. There are still ways we can trim down so that the bills were more manageable. But definitely make
Do you
a payment, definitely seek out any assistance that's going around, definitely speak to your creditors. And depending on who the creditor is, you can even broach the subject of debt forgiveness.
yes. Do you also look at, because there are some bills that when you pass the time for payment, the penalties are higher. Do you look at those bills? Pay this one. This is going to put me in more debt. Do you prioritize payment in that kind of way?
You really do need to. And at this particular time, it is so difficult because if you are running into a couple of those bills and you find that there's really not enough money to go around, then what you would do is whichever bill is going to cost you more, then you would naturally seek to prioritize that one first.
Yes. We like to be creative. Stretching the dollar is an important thing. Help we stretch the dollar in a rose. How can we stretch the dollar at this time?
All right, before we go to stretching the dollar, I should have mentioned this because a lot of persons are also using credit card because there's nowhere else to turn. They're probably out of cash and all of that. So credit
Yes.
cards can be, and as an educator, it does pain me to say that run up your credit card bill if that's the only option you have. But at this time, it would really help you if you had a good card in your purse, one that would actually charge you interest on the reducing balance, because that would help you tremendously. But if your credit card is all you have to take care of the bills in the interim, then that's at least an option.
Hmm.
So we're talking about how to
Um,
stretch the dollar.
Stretching the dollar. Yes.
Yes. How long? How long? We'd want to stretch it to twice or three times. All right. So believe it or not, there are still ways, as I was saying before, to reduce our expenses. And we ought to be looking at that now in a very, very serious way. Because now the dollar, some people have lost their jobs, some people's income have been trimmed down. So it's definitely a time to also be looking at ways to trim expenses. So how do we
Mhm.
do that? And we mentioned that a lot of people are at home now and doing all kinds of things at home. And the current conversation about the light bills and all that now, which is going to be a little higher. But we should still be very mindful of things that we can do to even save on electricity. So hopefully by now we would have changed out all the bulbs. So we are using LED bulbs. But now is a time to try and keep the children out of the refrigerator. So you can prepare an igloo or something and leave it outside so they don't go into the fridge a lot. Then we can also seek to utilize some of the sunlight. So we're at home and we're probably bored and we're thinking of watching television all day. I would recommend that we not do that. Do something outside, some games or something outside so you wouldn't be watching the television all the time. The aim is to try and reduce the electricity bill. We can also seek to reduce our food bill, believe it or not. It's difficult, but we have to try because resources are limited. So when you go shopping, do still take your list. No panic buying because you're going to be using up all your resources. And you reach home and you discover that you have too many of this and none of that. So we still want you to walk with your list and pay close attention to your list. Also want you to pick up some substitute items. It's really not a time to necessarily be going over the top and buying high branded items. There are sometimes real good substitutes that we can actually move at acquiring. We can also use up our discounts and our reward programs. So make sure you ask for your discount. Don't be too much in a hurry not to ask. And if you have a reward card, make sure you use it. Of course, there's also the buying of stuff in bulk, so you get a little wholesale price on that. And in when you're preparing your meals now, of course, this is Jamaica where we are super creative. So we know that we add vegetables and we get an extra serving or two. We also know that we can also add beans, and that's gonna give you a different type of meal, but also
Meal.
very nutritious. And Tony Ann McFashion, Delia, I have been eating so much of what we call tonka meal in recent times,
Yes.
flavored with
Polenta.
coconut. Thank you. That is the correct terminology. Polenta, flavored with coconut milk and mixed vegetables, and it is awesome. So we have
Yes.
to be creative. This is a time like no other right now. And a lot of the things, the normal things we normally do, those are out the window. Many of us are into survival mode. So we have to make
Yes.
some drastic changes and coupled with discipline as well. I like to say that sometimes we don't have to eat as much as we do. So when we are eating, be very mindful of that. Eat as them would say and leave some for tomorrow.
Yes. Before I wrap up, Rose, what I'm getting from you is plan, plan, and plan again.
Yes,
Plan what the meals are
yes,
so that when you go to purchase, you're purchasing for those meals.
that's right.
Plan how you're going to use the utilities.
That's right.
Plan what the children are going to do.
Yes,
So planning is at the center of what you're
a
saying.
big part of it.
There's one more thing you're saying, and I want to reinforce it before you go. Because we're saying, boy, how the dollar going to stretch? But what I'm hearing from you is that we can more than stretch it. We can save money at this time. And we have to also think about saving and not just how can we pay the bills.
That's also true. And some people say saving at a time like this, but the answer is yes. Still carve out, and particularly for many persons who are not going out now. So we have transportation costs that are down. If we're of the group that used to pay toll, we're not doing that anymore, or petrol is down and all of that. We still need to carve out something that we can set aside, because for many of us, that's how we got to this desperate position in the first place, not recognizing that no matter how small it is, we need to carve out a portion of it and set it aside. So times are difficult as we're walking through COVID, but we're not to lose sight of the fact that we still do need to set something aside. And I actually have a formula, Delia, for whatever our income is. And we like to say we need to be saving a portion of it, ideally 10%. We're giving away, believe it or not, a portion of it, another 10%, and try to utilize the 80% to take care of our bills.
All right, awesome, Rose. It's awesome talking to you. Thank you so much. Some very, very useful tips. I'm sure that those who are tuned in learned a lot. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Speaking to Rose Miller. Did you make notes on what you just said? So if we sit down and we say, listen, this is what we're going to do for this week, then this is what I'm going to buy because this is what I'm going to cook. And we don't just go and cook and then We say, oh my gosh, I bought too much of this and too little of that. Because right now, we have to get out of the mindset of just spending and also how are we saving, because post COVID, we still want to enjoy our life. We want to take a few questions from you. Let us know what the questions are, and we're going to be very, very happy to answer some of those questions. So please send your questions in. Um, and let us know what are some of the things you'd like to hear. Once again, you can join us on our social media pages on Facebook, on Instagram. We are at the JN Group, and our group website is jngroup.com/COVID 19 help. So it's jngroup.com/COVID 19 help. And you'll find all the information that you need on how the JN Group is supporting you to respond to COVID 19. Rose is still with us. So if you have any questions for her as our financial expert, please feel free and she'll be more than happy to help. All right. So, Rose, this question is, can credit card debt be renegotiated?
Credit card, you can actually switch your credit card to a Jane card, and you're going to be ahead of the game. Because what happens is when you do that, then you will not only get a lower rate of interest, but what you'll also get is the ability or the to pay interest on the balance that's due on the card. Now, one of the things that a lot of people run into is the continual increase in their credit card amounts because they are not paying off the full balance. And so more interest is added on. But when you have a Jane card, then you have the opportunity of actually paying on the balance that's on the card and not on what you owe. So you're ahead of the game. So in that sense, it can be
Wow.
renegotiated.
So it can be renegotiated, because I'm telling you, I think that's one of the biggest fears. So what you're saying is, come in and talk to someone. Don't see the debt on the credit card and not answer the phones or take the emails, because that's just going to make it worse,
Yes,
right?
yes, that's gonna make it real worse.
All right, so they should just come in and try to renegotiate the card. All right, we're going to take some more questions for you. In a minute, I'll tell you what the other questions are. Rose, don't move. We have a lot for you because they're coming in. What about consolidation of debt? I think that's one of the first things that people hear when they say, why don't you consolidate the debt? I don't know if a lot of people understand what that means and how it works. So,
That
first of all, what does it mean and how does it work?
that's actually a good strategy if you find that you have a lot of loans that you are straddled with, and that's basically bringing all your debt under one umbrella. So if you have
Mhm.
5 creditors, then you can come into an institution like JN and take out a debt consolidation loan whereby all your other creditors are paid out and you have just this one loan to service. But of note, Delia and the community, when you do consolidate a debt, you have to be very mindful that if you're not careful in managing your new situation, then you would get back to the same place that you're coming from. So when you have consolidated your debt, usually you get a little what we call wiggle room. So now each month
Mhm.
you have probably an extra $10,000 or $15,000. The purpose of that is actually to help you to be more financially secure, not extra money to go right back into more debt. Because if you don't manage that situation properly, then another 2, 3 years, you're going to be right back where you are, needing another debt to be consolidated. So use the extra money, the additional money each month to actually build up your reserve. So you're actually now building an emergency fund, creating wealth.
Rose, I wanted to repeat that, because sometimes we get out of the debt and we dig ourselves into more, and we don't realize that the purpose of it is to take us out of it.
Yes,
And that's what we need to use it for.
yes, we do see it as extra money we have now every month, and we do not make the best use of it. So that's what
Mm-hmm.
that is all about. And another thing with debt consolidation, we should still try and go for the shortest period possible. The longer period will allow you to pay less per month. But remember now, every loan that is extended over a long period is going to cost you more in the long run. So instead of consolidating for 3, 4 years, if you can manage the monthly payment and still have a little extra each month, then bring it down to 2 years. You're going to be ahead of the game.
Okay. These questions that we're asking now, what do you have in terms of advice for persons who may have lost their jobs or who may eventually lose their jobs throughout this time?
All right, I like to say that we all have gifts, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Try and identify if there's a gift that you can actually use to earn income. In fact, this goes for all of us, even while we are employed now, because we need more than one stream of income. So if we have a gift or a talent, see how we can monetize that gift or that talent. I want us to also try and identify any need that might exist even now and regard that as an opportunity that you probably are able to move into as we speak. And I'm remembering just yesterday, a friend of mine, she sent a WhatsApp message. She's from my church community. And she was making us aware that she's now making masks, some beautiful masks, and she is ready with them to go. So, what do we have in our hands? Anything, any skill, any talent that we can monetize. It's also a great time while we have some downtime for many people to see how we can probably learn a new skill or pursue some kind of a course online. There are a few courses online right now, but skills training and empowering ourselves with additional skills also another way. We're going to come out of COVID and none of us know how we're going to come out. So it's time to skill up because those skills might be what we have to turn to.
Yeah, and there are a lot of courses that are online. They're free.
Yeah,
There are tutorials that are free. So, take the opportunity
yeah,
and go up online. And also, I like what you're saying in terms of you may be losing your job, but you can find other opportunities elsewhere. I was talking to someone who said, listen, I used to rent cars, but nobody's going anywhere now. We're all locked in. But I realized that they need transportation to carry food to people. They have to
yeah.
carry produce from the farmers. So I want to use the cars and deliver food.
Yes. We have to be creative and we really have to be thinking outside of the box because there are opportunities, but we have to have the vision to actually tap into them.
All right. Rose, I want to thank you so much for speaking with us. Any last words that you have for the folks who are online? Um, if they're unsure, can they just come in, check the website? If I have an idea and I think, maybe this can work, can I come in and have a chat with Jen?
You can come in and have a chat. It's kind of challenging now because the hours are shorter for this period, but you can call also at our foundation
Yes.
and go to our website. But in
All
terms
right.
of the last words, Delia, I want to really say this to our Jamaican people, and we can't say too often. A lot is going to depend on how we treat with COVID. A lot is going to depend on how disciplined we are. And in this time, in times of crisis, our discipline is going to be important. Our community involvement, our community spirit, our compassion, and our love and our kindness. And that's what's going to actually take a lot of people through this period. Because, like I said before, there are many persons who have practically nowhere to turn. So it's going to be a community effort as we work together. So together we'll make it happen.
Let me tell you, out of many, one people
Yes.
takes on new meaning
Yeah.
at this time because wherever we are, we have to look out for each other. We have to protect each other, and each one has to help one. Thank you so much, Rose,
Thank you,
for
Dana.
speaking with us this evening.
All right. Have
Had a
a
great
good
chat with our
evening.
financial expert there, Rose Miller of the Jane Foundation. Sorry we couldn't get to link with Omar, but don't worry, we're going to work it out sometime in this conversation because we want to make sure that we hear from our family all over Jamaica. So join us again next Thursday. This is how we do it every Thursday, the JN Circle catch up. And we're going to tell you so much more on financial security because it's important and discuss some more practical ways on how you can manage your loans and your debts and how JN Bank can assist you. Remember, visit the JN Group website. It is www.jngroup.com/COVID-19 help. And that's where you're going to get information on how the JN Group is supporting you to respond to COVID-19. Again, follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram at the JN Group, and our experts and our family, they're waiting to help you. Together, we're going to overcome the effects of COVID-19. Thank you so much for staying with us. Catch up with us next week, same time. I'm Dana Harris. Walk good.